Hello everyone, this is Javamonk, and welcome to the first official episode of my mod making series. So, I have a bit of a bizarre perspective. For example, you can see my taskbar and stuff in the window bar and stuff like that, because this series is going to be formatted a little different from some of the other series that I did. I'm going to show you the behind the scenes of all the mod making and stuff like that. So over here in this rather destroyed island, there are multiple areas where I tested out these things, which can be given by doing /stop hammer time. Bam. So, yes, that's a joke based on a joke from Minecraft, because Minecraft also has a stop hammer time. In fact, the command /stop hammer time, believe it or not, was a first look at commands back in a very long time ago. So, let's go into survival and see how these things work. I showed them off in the original showcase video, but now we get a little in-depth on that. So the wooden hammer, you break a block and it will break the block on top and to the side and below it. Real quick, give myself some night vision. Okay, and let's do that. There we go. So, the stone hammer. You break a block, and it will break the cube all around it. Looks like I already did some breaking over here. Let's go this way. And yeah, it does leave some blocks behind. The iron hammer is even more powerful than that. It will break a 5x3 area, which unfortunately means that it's rather one-directional. This is one of the things I hope to change. The diamond hammer will break blocks in a 5x5 area, like so. Uh-oh. That's not good. Yeah, that happens sometimes. Okay, let's try that again. Might not have... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Come on, let me out. Okay. Looks like we got a bit of a weird stuff going on. Wow, that is really weird. Okay, let's try that again. So, the diamond hammer is supposed to break blocks in a 5x5x5 area. The gold hammer basically does the same thing as the stone hammer does. It's just much faster at it. So, compare speeds. There we go. The obsidian hammer is even more powerful than that. It breaks blocks in a 7x7x7 cubic area. The anvil hammer works the same way as an iron hammer, but it's supposed to deal more damage towards mobs. Currently, these don't deal any damage towards mobs. The explosive hammer creates an explosion, but only when you're active, when you right-click in the air, because when you do that, it just creates a bunch of ghost blocks. So when you right-click on a block, it creates a bunch of ghost blocks, which is annoying. I'm not sure how to fix it, but yeah, that's annoying. So now let's move on to some of the more interesting hammers. We have the Technetium Hammer, which breaks blocks in a 9x9x9 area. Once again, it seems to leave blocks behind. The Periodic Hammer, which breaks blocks in a, I think this is a 11x11 area, I think. 3, 4, 5, yep, 11x11. And it leaves behind every block in the middle, so you can break blocks like this. And then, they do all take damage relative to the number of blocks that they break. So, they don't last long, but they're really powerful. And then, the ultimate hammer, the Super Duper Hammer, which lags every time you use it, and it can break bedrock. So, or at least it can, indirectly, as long as you don't try to break it directly. So, right now, the reason why it's lagging like this, and the reason why it leaves behind ghost blocks and stuff like that, is because the code to make them work is rather inefficient. This is one of the things I hope to fix. There we go. Weird. Okay. this is one of the things that I hope to fix in this episode of the mod making series. So here's a look at how I make the mod. I'm using a tool called mCreator, and that's because I know how to program a mod manually, but this just makes things so much easier. So let's start. I don't think we can edit much with the wooden hammer, but the stone hammer can definitely use some changes. First things first, the texture is weird, so let's import an item texture. So I have a collection of textures that I've worked on over a very long time, and these textures are temporary. You don't have to, you can't change these textures if you want to. So let's see. Then we got this menu here. This is an item. Okay. Weird. Okay. This page over here in the item creation. So making items in mCreator is quite easy. You can just have the name of the item, describe what blocks it can destroy, the number of uses it has, and then there's different events that you can have happen. And at the moment, I have a whole bunch of events that are all called just remove block with drop. This, by the way, is how you craft the hammers. You put a stick at the bottom middle row, then a pickaxe of the kind of hammer that you want, and then cobblestone around it in a kind of a hammer shape. So let's real quick do this. So that'll recompile the mod, and then we can dive right into the code and directly interfere with the code and make it slightly more efficient. Hopefully. That's the goal anyways. Okay, so in order to make this code here more efficient, I want to make it so that, first off, this if true statement is fixed or changed, and also all of this, it's going to get annoying, and especially with things like the super duper hammer, when you have a 15 by 15 by 15 area to break, it is incredibly slow. So instead, we're going to do a bit of modification here. So first off, let's redefine these as something more intuitive than I, J, and K, and call them what they are, which is basically the relative coordinates of X, Y, and Z. So relative Z. Okay. Now, I think we should also define the size in all directions in which this should break, in which this hammer should break. So in this case, the stone hammer should break blocks in a 3 by 3 by 3 area. So here we go. Okay. Now, this on its own won't really do the job too well, because I also want to help with the east, west, north, south weirdness, and the problem with that is just doing this and running a bunch of for loops is going to be very directional. I don't want that. So instead, we're going to we're going to change size x into the integer version of math.round of what the previous value of size x is, divided by 2. Okay, so here's what this does. Essentially, it will divide this by 2, so that rather than just breaking 3 blocks in one direction, it'll break 1 block in each direction along the x-axis. And then we should do the same thing for the z-axis. So here we go, size z/2, done. Okay, next. All of this needs to just go away because it's unnecessary. Although, maybe that was a bad idea. because this actually has some valuable stuff. Right then. So now in order to actually break these blocks, I need to make the game render the fact that I want the blocks being broken in the particular area that I want them to be broken. So let's do for this, the best way I could think of doing that is a triple for loop. So for loops are special because you can start at a particular value and then stop them at a particular value, and they will automatically increment every time they're run. So in this case, I want each of these loops to run. So I want each of these to run every time. So this counter x is going to increment by 1 every time the loop is run, and it's going to stop at the size x that I put here. Now inside this counting along the x-axis thing, so this counts along the x-axis. So inside this for loop, we're also going to have another for loop, this time dealing with the y. So equals 0, counter y is less than or equal to size y. Oops. Here we go. And then counter y plus plus. There we go. There should be a counter x. There we go. And then do another for loop, but this time for the z-axis. Really all we got to do is just change all these to z's. Oop. Here we go. There we go. And done. So now what this is going to do is essentially it's going to come over here and go, okay, so this player wants to break some blocks. So it goes, okay, here's the block that you wanted to break. So it's first going to count along the x and go, okay, let's increment this and then do whatever's in the loop. Then that loop says run this loop. This loop then says run this loop. And then this loop here is going to describe exactly what needs to be broken. So this is where this code comes in. And what it's going to do is we'll get block state, blah, 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 blah. Essentially, what it's going to do is it is going to break whatever block I set it. But before we do that, I also need to run something that makes it so that okay. Essentially, I need to run a different loop that will, or an if statement, to make sure that it is valid. So we're just going to create a different method for counter x plus relative x. And then, so the isValid method, which we will create pretty soon, is going to accept 3 different arguments, that being the x coordinate, the y coordinate, and the z coordinate. So in order to accept these, I need to actually declare the fact that, hey, this method is going to accept some arguments. So there's relative z. This will all define the actual statement of is valid. So now, in order to avoid any weird exceptions, here's the return true that shows that this is the end of a different method. Although it then goes into set unlocalized name. So where does this curly bracket lead to? Okay, looks like it leads to this. I guess that's a constructor. So okay, looks like we're going to need to create a new method for this. So here we go. We're going to make this a public static Boolean because all it's going to do is accept a true or false. And what we're going to call it is valid. And so it needs to accept the x coordinates, the y coordinate, and the z coordinate of the block that we want to test whether or not it is valid. So I can see over here that it didn't do anything weird. It just created the method. In fact, yeah, that's all it did. It just created the method right here. So this is really helpful because it means that it makes sure that I don't go messing anything up and breaking things. So now we need to define what blocks are invalid. And then if they are invalid, I need to return false. And anything else goes. So let's see. This statement here will, well, part of that statement will actually test for what block is where. So this .getBlock part is what we're looking for. The rest of it just drops the block as an item. So let's now, okay, so Boolean valid, and this is going to equal whatever world.getBlock state of the block position, that being x, y, and z. So it gets the information of that block. I'm not entirely sure what it would, well, this looks like it would run a function. So in order to test and see which blocks are going to be valid or invalid, I do remember that I have something in the Iron Hammer, I believe. Aha, here we go. So I copied this code from the Iron Hammer, and this is the code that we need to actually be running. There we go. Now, this is going to, right now it says it is valid if the block that is being detected or asked whether or not it is valid, if it is not equal to bedrock, then it is valid. So let's just signify that. Now, we also wanted to make sure that it doesn't break anything else, such as barriers. So to do that, so block/bedrock. Now, we also don't want it to break end portal frames. So to do that, I suppose we could just put this into parentheses, and then that's the symbol for or, the or statement. So block/end portal frame. I think that's how it works. And then we also don't want to allow the breaking of barriers. We also don't want to allow breaking of command blocks. Okay. This probably is not going to work first try, but that's okay. We just got to modify it. From here, we also got to copy this and make sure that the block actually, or that the hammer actually takes damage. So if it is valid, then it's going to take 1 bit of damage. Okay, and now all we have to do is now just remove this entire thing. So now we just have this method that's going to run the breaking of the blocks code. And each time it breaks a block, it's also going to ask whether or not it is valid. So let me return whether or not it is valid. There we go. So it is valid if, this is what I'm hoping is actually getting the idea. So what I'm trying to tell the code is that the block that is selected to be broken is valid if the block in that position is not bedrocks, end portal frames, barriers, or command blocks. Okay, let's see if this works. Save and recompile. Let's see. Alright, looks like something failed. Let's take a look at what failed. Not in conjunction with... Okay, so what went wrong? It's kind of difficult to tell here. Okay, looks like the problem is there. End portal frame, that's not how... It doesn't know what an end portal frame is. So let's just go back into the code. And let's go end portal frame. I guess that's how that's supposed to work. Just needs to be all caps, I assume. I don't know. Let's run it again. This is really embarrassing. As much as I know about Java, that's what I forgot. A semicolon. Happens to the best of us. Uh-oh. We've got bigger problems. Went from just having one problem to now having 15. Okay, cannot find symbol. Okay, here's a weird test that I decided to just spontaneously do. So my prediction is that I forgot to tell the hammer to actually remove the blocks that it says to break. So if this is true, then I'm going to get 4 pieces of cobblestone from mining this. So that's what I'm going to test. I'm going to mine this block here, and if I get 4 pieces of cobblestone, then something's up. Okay, I broke a lot more blocks there. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That... Weird. I'm thinking maybe I could modify this code a little to make it a bit more intuitive. So let's tweak this a little so that if this... Okay, so here's the idea. If this statement is true, then I want this to return false. So for that, I'm going to have to change that out. And otherwise, return true. There we go. And this way, I can get rid of the need for a separate Boolean variable. So now here's the idea. The coordinates are going to be gathered from here and brought to this method and go, here's the coordinates. And the if statement is going to go, okay, if this block at this position, if that block at this position is bedrock or end portal frames or barriers or command blocks, then it is invalid and do not break the block. So for those purposes, I could now possibly extend this a little. So here we go. We can just copy paste this like so. So yes, it's going to be a bit of spaghetti code, but we can just collapse it all down like this. There we go. So now we have the statements that would make the block at the specified position invalid. And that is if the block is bedrock, or the block is end portal frame, or the block is a barrier, or the block is a command block. There we go. So now that we basically redid this bit of the code, which seems to have been causing quite a few problems, let's now save and recompile and see what comes out of it. So mCreator was complaining that there was that over here there's an else without an if, which seems a bit odd because the if statement is over here. So I'm not entirely sure what would cause that. Okay, I was checking over here to see if there was anything special that could possibly lead me to some clues on why it's acting weird. Okay. Aha. There's the problem. I think I found it. So the problem is that I mentioned the fact that I want the world.get block state blah 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 blah. Except it doesn't know what the world is because this method has no idea what a world is. So let's now make it so that it will accept that an argument with the world in it. And that also means we've got to add it here. And world is already defined up here and over here. And it's gathered from the onBlock destroyed boolean, and it's also transferred from somewhere in here. So yeah, I think that was the problem, was because these statements didn't know what world is. Which also means I can do this. Here we go. And let's also get rid of that part there. There we go. The more that can be crammed into one if statement, the better. There we go. Okay, let's save and recompile, see if this works. Oh, and before I compile, I cleared this out because I just want to test this and make sure it actually works before I go trying to screw with it in the world itself. So here we go. Yes, the build is successful. Okay, we're now in the world with a stone hammer in our hands. So let's quickly go into survival mode and test it out. What? Okay then. That was weird. Okay then. That was really weird. How many blocks did it break? What is going on? Okay, broke some blocks over here too. What? Okay. This needs some testing. Okay. Let's go over here. And okay. So it's only supposed to break blocks in a 3x3 region. Here we go. So positive X and positive Z direction is the direction it should be breaking stuff. So, what is going on? That is just weird. That is really, really weird. How strange. Just as I thought. Nowhere in here did I say remove the block or set the block to error. Okay, so once again I copied this from a different hammer before I switched to this. Before I switched to doing this with the for loops. Let's do that, and let's do that. Okay, so now it should get the block that I want, grab that block, and then drop that block as an item and the item should appear at the position that the block used to be, and then also I don't know what that's supposed to be for, but yeah, that's the idea there. And then also remove the block or set it to error. Oh boy. So it also appears that this damage item thing, it will damage the item by whatever 3 cubed is, 27. It'll take 27 damage every single time that I'm breaking a block that is not bedrock and portal frames, barriers, or command blocks. That does not exclude error. So I think we're just going to have to add another if statement, an extra exception to that rule. So get block state, new block pose, and I'm going to put that in because this is being slow. Okay, the fix has been implemented, so now I placed 27 polished granite blocks, and I should get 27 polished granite, and nothing else. Plus it took 27 damage off my stone hammer. Now here's the real test. I'm going to break this 3x3 patch of stone over here. And I should only... Okay, I'm going to choose one of these spots because it's going to go in this direction. And it should only take 9 durability off the stone hammer, which for this case would be 243 minus 9, 234. And 227. Okay. That's weird. Maybe because I was breaking against the hill. I'm gonna try something like grass here. What? That shouldn't be happening. How much dirt did I get from that? 16. Why did I get 16 dirt? Let me try over here. Okay. Let's see how much cobblestone I'm gonna get. Hmm. 21. Okay, how about over here? Well, that's interesting. Seems to be making a bigger area than what I expected. It appears to be breaking a 4x4 area rather than a 3x3. I think I know why. And it's a really dumb mistake. Something that could be very easily fixed. Okay, let's try this once again. I have 162 durability. I'm going to break a 3x3 patch, so I should be left with 153 durability. Okay, it broke a 3x3 patch, and I got 9 cobblestone and 153 durability. Sweet! So, the fix was a really, really easy thing to do. So, over here in the code, right here is where I had the problems. This less than sign used to be a less than or equals to sign. Now, computers start counting from 0. So that is why I ended up breaking a 4x4 area rather than a 3x3 area. So, and yes, the hammers are intended to be used for just about anything, including things like dirt. It can be used as an axe if you really wanted to. So, let's see here. Bam. So, yeah, hammers can be used, and I fully intend that they be used as an axe. They can be used as they can even be used as some sort of lawnmower. So let's see. Yeah, the surface of this island is kind of destroyed. But all of this that we found out that we did to the stone hammer, we can apply it to all of the other hammers, except for the wooden hammer. Wooden hammer is pretty much pointless to do, but for all the other hammers, we can implement the same thing, and then we can do an ultimate test and see just how, and then we can round it up with a full test on all the different hammers, except for the super duper one. I'm going to show us something special with that. Oh, wait, there's more. So I brought this statement back in, which essentially makes the hammers non-directional, except they're going to be breaking blocks upwards, but the side to side is not going to be directional. So in order to do that, I also had to implement this so that it would still break the 3x3 area. Okay. Now, let's try this real quick and make sure it works before I go implementing it anywhere else. Okay, here we go. With this new implementation on the stone hammer, let's test this. Okay then. So it just breaks one block, 1x1 pillar. That's 3 blocks tall. Okay then. Let's try that again. I have a hunch having the less than or equal to sign is the key to this. Let's try that. Let's try this again, shall we? Okay. I guess it helps if I'm actually in survival. Okay. Okay then. If anything, that made the situation worse. So after fighting with this for so long, I gave up. I'm not going to try to put in that I want the specific size. I'm going to divide it by 2 and round it down from here, and then deal with it from there. So it's going to downgrade a little from a smart system to a rather dumb system, but that's okay. Okay, so we have a plus plus, then we get a plus minus, minus minus, and then minus plus. And this way, I modeled all the blocks that are going to be broken out in this 3D program. So the first one that's going to break is that one. That's the target block, and then it's going to go plus that one. Well, actually no, it's going to break this one first, then this one, and then it's going to go up and break that one, then this one, then that one, and then it's going to break this one, then this one, then this one, and then from there, it's going to go break that one, then that one, and that one. And then it's going to also break like that in that order. Although the order is most likely going to be more like that one, then 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 that one. But the point is, it does it all automatically, which that is the goal. I don't have to put in if statements or statements that say that every single directly specifying exactly which block needs to be broken and which doesn't. Whew, lots of work there. Okay, and this is just a stone hammer, but once we figure out the stone hammer, all the other hammers are just going to be a piece of cake. Let's test it. That is so weird. Okay, so I mined this block right here, and it's supposed to mine the blocks above it, the column of 3 blocks to either side, as well as the column of 3 blocks behind this. But all it does is just a 2x2 area, and then when I break this, it then does it properly. And so that is just, it's so bizarre. I have no idea how to fix it either, and it seems to happen in this direction too. So it's not directional, which is good, but it's also rather bizarre. I have no idea why it is doing that. Take a look at the code here. I have a go less than or equal to size X, which I just set it to 1. So, and I also have it less than or equal to size Z, and yes, I reordered this Y and Z. And then size Y doesn't really matter, that's just the height. So, yeah, it goes, it has a plus X and positive Z, so it's gonna, so from this being the center point here, that's a bad example. Give me a stone pick. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to use granite to represent this. So suppose this is the center here. That essentially means that, so this part here is supposed to mine out towards this corner here. And then you have this part, which the minus and minus, that mines out this part there. And then you have a plus and a minus. So since that was plus plus and this is minus minus, then the plus minus would be over here towards that direction. And then the minus plus gets the remaining corner over here. So that code is in, and it works over here in my Eclipse draft here. So that is so bizarre. Why is it not working? Weird. I don't think there can be enough face palms to cover the mistake I made. Right here, counter x minus relative x, instead of the relative x minus the counter x. Sometimes I just feel like putting a bucket on my head and banging it with a baseball bat. Let's try it. Would you look at that? It works perfectly. There we go. It works. And it is pretty much flawless. So let's do a quick test here. Bam. And I got 18 cobblestone. Okay. And last but not least, let's get to the surface and make sure I will still get 27 polished granite, andesite. So since the center of the region broken by the hammer is on the bottom layer in the center, as intended, That is actually the main purpose of even going through this code rehash. So now I should get an extra 27 polished granite. And there it is. Bam. 28 polished granite. I had one in my inventory, so I got an extra 27. Sweet. Okay. Amazing. Let's now apply this on all of the other hammers. So I figured that you guys would be interested to see how I dealt with things like the Technetium Hammer, which breaks a 9x9x9 area. Now, something about mCreator, and something I haven't exactly noticed with any other Java tool, is that methods have a limit on how much code could be in it. So I was forced to split up the code into multiple methods. So I have a k plus 0, k plus 1, k plus 4, blah, blah, blah. And each of these changed their k values. And that's because I had every single iteration of I plus whatever all the way up to 4, and j plus whatever all the way up to 4, and then all the way down to -4, and same with I. So it's a lot of code. In fact, one method takes up, I think that's 500 lines of code, and that's nothing compared to the Super Duper Hammer. So, and all of that is going to go away with one press of the delete button, because with this new setup here, this is pretty much obsolete. So, finally, no more pain of having to deal with this. Here we go. Bam. Gone. And instead, I just replace it with this piece here. Ta-da. And then we just change the size to whatever I want. There we go. And then all of this, several thousand lines of code, can all just go away. There we go. Okay, let's delete that. Okay. And then all we gotta do is simply define what is valid. So that's this method that we developed from the stone hammer. There we go. And for the super duper hammer, that's almost 25,000 lines of code that I'm now going to remove and compacted into barely anything. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, poof. Gone. All replaced with this and these values set, as well as this. Ta-da! So, yeah, the super duper hammer is pretty insane. It's got 60,000 durability. Well, it is intentionally the most powerful pickaxe or hammer. The super duper tools in general are the most powerful that you can possibly get. In fact, let me save this. I'm gonna create a new folder for backup code. Here we go. There we go. So backup code because when I change the textures of these, it's going to reset all the code, which is annoying, but not much I can do about that. So yeah, that I think is going to do it for the coding bit. So now let's get back into the game and test it all out. Okay, it's now time to add more holes to the Swiss cheese island. So /stop hammer time. Bam. Okay. So we have the wooden hammer, as expected. The stone hammer. Bam. And then we have the iron hammer. And it is no longer directional, so it'll break a 5x5 by 3 area, 3 block tall area. Then you have the diamond hammer, the gold hammer, which is basically the same as the stone hammer, just much faster, and breaks a lot faster. The obsidian hammer, which breaks a 7x7x7 area. Plus, you now also have to run around to collect all the items. Then you have the anvil hammer, which is basically the same as the iron hammer. Explosive hammer. That's just too much fun. The Technetium Camera, which, by the way, this orange theme I intend to eventually carry on to other Technetium tools. Finally, we have the periodic hammer. Whoa. I'm going to get away from that lava. But yeah, that breaks an 11x11x11 area. And then, the ultimate hammer, the one to rule them all, the super duper hammer. 15x15x15 area. Okay, so that, I think, is going to do me for this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please let me know. So, there will not be a snapshot in this for this episode. So, but around at the time that the next snapshot rolls around, you'll be able to play around with this new feature of the hammers, that being the fact that they are now not one directional, and you can do stuff like that. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you. I'll see you at the bottom of this hole here. Because, good grief, this is just too much fun. Uh-oh. That's lava. Okay. Let's get down to the bedrock layer. Okay. Should be safe from the lava here. Bam. And bam. And then bam. And I can't break any further because at the moment these things cannot break the breakable bedrock. So, would you look at that? There's diamonds there. So, once again, thank you for watching. I will see you next episode, whenever that comes out. Bye!